My name is Mike Blackburn. I grew up in Ogden, Utah, then came to Salt Lake to go to college. After I finished college, I ran off to California, but 5 years later came back to Salt Lake, and that's where my career has been, is here in Salt Lake. I am married. I have 5 children. My wife is an MD, and we haven't been able to get any of them to become a doctor like their mother or a lawyer like their dad, but I did get one of them to become a CPA. That depends on which job you're asking about. My primary job is I practice law, tax law, in a downtown Salt Lake law firm called Blackburn and Stahl. I do a lot of tax planning, a fair amount of estate planning, and then tax litigation against the Internal Revenue Service and the Utah State Tax Commission. But I also spend quite a lot of my time teaching. I teach for the AICPA, their professional development courses around the country, and I teach at the University of Utah and at Westminster College. Oh, definitely Waffles. I have currently an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old granddaughter and grandson who are living with me while their parents are building a house. And every Saturday morning and every Sunday morning, they wake me up and say, "Grandpa, let's make waffles." So I go out and make waffles with them. They love it. This is going to be the scary part. I got my degree in 1973. In those days, you had to have 2 years experience before you could become a CPA. So it was actually early 1976 when I became a CPA. I guess that makes it 44 years. That's a very interesting question. I attended the University of Utah, searching for what I wanted to do with my life. I majored in English for a little while and thought, nah, that's not it. So I switched to philosophy, tried that for a while, that's not it. So I switched to mechanical engineering for about a year and then finally decided that's not it. So I'm running around from school to school trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And I met a lady at the business school at the U who says, "You need to take a tax class from Ken Haney." I didn't have any of the prerequisites. She had to pull a whole lot of strings to even get me into the class, and I probably was in the class a full hour before I knew what I wanted to do with my life. Great teacher, great subject, I loved it. Neither. Is that an okay answer? Okay. Okay. Turtles and snakes are okay, but no dogs and cats. I didn't have any role models through elementary, junior high, or high school that inspired me to be a CPA. That inspiration came when I attended a class taught by Ken Haney at the University of Utah. But by the time I had decided to be a CPA, I had really already decided that what I wanted to do is be a CPA and a lawyer. And yes, I did have a very interesting teacher in 9th grade who decided that it was a drama class, but she decided that the group of us were cut out for debate. So she picked 8 of us and said, "You guys are all going to do a debate." And she was absolutely convinced that I did a terrible job choosing my partner. So we debated one subject for several weeks, and she says, "Okay, we're going to start over again, and we're going to all pick new partners." And at that point, I did a better job of choosing who my partner was. That was Brett Richards, and he and I were partners through 9th grade and 3 years of high school. Won the state debate final tournament 2 out of our 3 years in high school. Wow, that's a very interesting question. I think what I like best about being a CPA is the professional friendships that I've made with CPAs and professors, but more with CPAs all around the state. And yeah, getting together in a meeting. Sometimes it's here at the UACPA, sometimes it might be at another location, but getting together with other like-minded professionals and looking around and saying, this is where I belong. I like these guys and I like what they stand for. That's probably what makes me the most proud. Oh, just about everywhere. My first experience with the UACPA is I joined a committee, and they sent me out an invitation that says, come to our office and we're going to have a committee meeting. And I showed up to what I thought was their office. In reality, it had been their office the year before, but they'd moved and nobody bothered to tell me. So I bombed out on that committee, but eventually figured out where their office was. I spent, 6, 7, 8 years on the board of directors, and then eventually became the president. While I was the president, they shipped me off to the AICPA, and I spent 5 years on council at the AICPA. And then when I got done with that, they said, hey, we need somebody to sit on the State Board of Accountancy, the regulatory body. So I spent 8 years there too. So yeah, I like being with CPAs, and if I can do things that make the profession better or make it fun to work with my my fellow CPAs, I'm interested and ready to go. Well, in a number of different ways. I was on the state school board nominating committee for a period of time. I was on Governor Mike Leavitt's transition committee when he first got elected, and then I was on his transition committee again when he got elected for the third time. He excused me on his second re-election. Probably the biggest single thing I've done is soccer. I always envisioned myself coaching all of my sons playing baseball. And then I proceeded to have 4 daughters. And they weren't real excited about playing baseball, even though I convinced them that they should give it a try. They all wanted to play soccer, so I ended up coaching competition soccer for 14 years. When you're doing that, you love the coaching part, but you hate the administrators that keep telling you what to do. So the only way you protect yourself is you got to become an administrator too. So I became a referee and the president of South Davis Soccer, and then got involved on the board of Utah Youth Soccer, and eventually Region 4, Western United States, and then eventually with the U.S. Soccer House, USSF, in Illinois. Been on all those boards. I much prefer the temperature in the winter. I don't like it when it's too hot. July and August are the 2 months I just as soon not live in Utah. But it's probably fair to say most of my outdoor activities are summer, not winter. I tried skiing and I was terrible at it, but I like being out doing baseball or soccer or basketball or those kind of things. They hit more in the summer. I've always viewed my role in Utah with respect to the CPA profession as the guy that a CPA can consult with when they're in trouble. If they've got a disciplinary issue, they can bring it to me and I'll help them figure it out. If they've got an angry client, I'm glad to help them. If they have a tax question and they just don't know where to put this issue on a tax return, I'm glad to talk with them. I just like playing the role of helping them. The reality is total shock. The reason is, I think all of the previous, as far as I'm aware, all of the previous recipients of the award have been full-time professional professors at a university somewhere in Utah. And I had sort of concluded that that isn't who I am, and this award was just not something that I was going to lead up to. I like teaching, but I'm a part-time professor at 2 universities, and I do a lot of professional education directly to CPAs, and I don't have a PhD. I've never been a full-time professor anywhere, so I really didn't expect it. TV, but I have this discussion with my daughter periodically because she's now a CPA and she's trying to learn to deal with the 60-hour work week. And I did that many years ago. And one of the things that I developed to make that work is I watch TV only as background noise while I'm working, and I almost never go to the movies. I don't spend a lot of time with either one of them because that interferes with getting your work done. I think they bring tremendous value. They best bring a note of realism. Hey, we don't have an infinite amount of money, we don't have an infinite amount of resources. We have to apply our money and our resources where they're most needed and where we get the best production out of them. And it's their job to convince the leaders, the presidents of the company, that, hey, I can analyze this for you and show you the best way to do it. The best thing I ever did to maintain a work-life balance was to send my wife to medical school. And that way, she works 60 hours a week just like I do, and so it's not a problem for either one of us. We're just used to doing it. Oh, the mountains, no question about that.
Any mountains in particular?
Oh, well, I spend a lot of time, or as much time as I can, in the Uintas. Don't fish a lot, like hiking, just like being out in the forest, playing games, doing things with my family. I'm not sure how to answer that. I was surprised many years ago when the UACPA chose me to be the outstanding CPA in public practice, because I never viewed that I'm in public practice. I'm a lawyer, but I was very proud of winning that. And then exactly 20 years later, the Bar Association selected me as the outstanding tax lawyer in practice. So the two of those together, I guess that's my proudest achievement. It's a great profession, a noble profession. It's worth dedicating your time and your energies to making it work. Don't get too caught up in whether you have to work 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week. In the long run, that's not really significant. What you want to get caught up in is, what are you contributing to society? And this profession gives you a great opportunity for that.